Good morning, Shannon. I see David Pryor, Wes Perkins, Pendejo. I don't say your name on the radio. Hector Gomez, good morning. Welcome in on a Taco Tuesday. I need my water, which is across the studio. I don't have a poll question yet, other than it's Taco Tuesday. So who has better tacos, Austin or San Antonio? But I'd rather have a sports-related poll question. Sam Tobias, Anthony Del Toro, Jesse Bratton, Hector Gomez. Anybody got a poll question that is appropriate and timely? Something we need to know. Longhorns taking on Kansas tonight. Maybe Longhorn related. Maybe what does Shaka Smart have to do to keep his job? Here we come. Probably come up with that at the bottom of the hour. Here we go. Taco Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021. And this Tuesday looking a whole lot better than last Tuesday, certainly weather-wise. Sunny temperatures in the mid-70s in Austin, in San Antonio, in South and Central Texas. We can live with that. Welcome into the Chris Duel Show. I'm Chris Duel, along with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and back again, the hardest working man in sports talk radio, soundscape style, Sam Freese, on a Tuesday that will feature the now, number 14 Texas Longhorns, with the latest rankings having come out, taking on number 17, Kansas. So Texas falls 2 spaces in the AP poll. Kansas elevates 6. Shannon, seems a little weird to me that, because we were talking yesterday about this game, and we'll certainly talk about it this morning. Kansas at 17, Texas at 14. Kansas seems, I think they deserve to be ranked a little higher than 17. Maybe that's where they're headed. Maybe they're shooting upward and skyward with a bullet. Maybe we'll find that out tonight.
Well, even more surprising, Texas currently favored by 2.5 in tonight's game. I would think that the way that they've been playing versus the way Kansas have been playing, the roles would be reversed, but I'm sure people looking at the rankings, that's just where they're going to put that line. But yeah, and senior night, last home game for the Horns for this season. They've had plenty of road games to finish out the season, which hopefully they can in fact do. But yeah, last home game for the Horns and a senior night to an empty crowd.
Oh man, that's not how we envisioned senior night or ever do. That's too bad. Hopefully though, somehow, some way, the seniors and this team, realizing it's the last home game, will rise up and make a stand and make a statement at the Frank Irwin Center tonight.
I'll need to double check, but historically I don't think Shaka Well fares very well on senior night.
Oh no! Well, then he's due. Maybe that's it.
That's the logic we should go with.
Yeah, he's due. So on this Taco Tuesday, Shannon, have you settled your I know you had a problem with your coffee app. You've got the Dunkin' coffee app. We all need coffee, especially at 6:13 in the morning. Have you settled that? Are they back up and running with coffee at Dunkin' in the morning for you?
I don't know. They've expanded the zone in Austin that has safe water. I don't think they're in it yet. I'm not in it yet. The office is though, which is nice, so I can get water here now. So I just have like one of those Starbucks drinks because I went to HEB yesterday, and of course, next to everything was gone. But I had to get rid of all of my food that I had in my fridge because I was without power for almost 4 days.
Oh
so
no!
I had to at least get food for the week.
See, we got in our studio, we got a notice from one of the top guys yesterday. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the ice. Don't use the ice machines. Don't until we settle this. Yeah. So, did you not get that, Sam Freeze?
No.
Yeah, from Mr. Ted Turner, the one of the top dogs, big cheese head honchos. He's in charge of a lot of what's going there. He sent an email out yesterday.
I also drank the water and used the ice all last week. I was more worried about dehydration than I was whatever that water was going to get.
Well, and I did last week too. I didn't realize, it was a problem.
Yeah.
And it probably is. I mean, and apparently in the email, it's in an abundance of caution because they are, the local in San Antonio Water Systems is saying, the water's good. So hopefully you won't keel over and die here. And if you do, hopefully not before 9 o'clock, Sam.
If you could wait till 9:01.
Right. So Sam, exactly. Sam Freeze, how are you this morning?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
What's new in your life? I know you're probably tooling around town with Mr. Mike Taylor, who's in town from Hawaii.
That's pretty much what the rest of the week's going to look like. We've got a couple of opportunities to volunteer lined up. I think we're going to hit the food bank later in the week, and we're going to go help support, it's black-owned restaurant week here in town, here in San Antonio. So we're going to go to one of our favorite spots over by my house and see if we can't raise a little money there. We got all kinds of things lined up the rest of the week. I think it's going to be pretty much a blur, just like you said, just running across town. So it's time to strap in for the show.
Well, and what is the black-owned restaurant near your home that you particularly enjoy?
It is an amazing burger place called Mark's Outing.
I've been to Mark's Outing. Yes,
great, right?
Yes, amazing. It is outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking fresh homemade bread for the buns. Burgers, you can get a thick patty if you like that. You can get a little, old school kind of diner thin slice patty. It's just a great burger place. I feel like it's one of the hidden burger places in our town, because when I hear people talk about their favorite burgers, it doesn't get brought up nearly as much.
True. As it should. That is true.
And some of the ones that do get brought up are nothing against them, but they're chains. They're not locally run, owned, operated. I kind of think Mark's doesn't get enough respect here locally, but I eat there once a week because I can walk to it from my house, so I think I'm probably a little biased there. Well,
but you are a connoisseur of fine food and burgers, and here you are evangelizing for Mark's Outing on the radio, so we will contribute to that. And of course, Shannon, today is Taco Tuesday. Yesterday was National Margarita Day. Did you have a margarita yesterday?
I sure did. I found a spot that was serving $6 jumbo margs. So I had me a marg or two.
Beautiful.
And what did I eat with those? See, I was so focused on the margs. Oh, I did tamales.
Wow.
Tamales.
That's a nice combo.
Yeah.
So where did you get your jumbo margs yesterday?
A spot in the Domain, Cyclone Anayas.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I've been to the Domain, obviously, but I've not been to this spot, so it sounds cool.
Yes, it's one of the newer restaurants, I'd say. I've been there about maybe 2-3 years now.
Nice.
But yeah, and they have great table salsa
for free, and they just lay it out for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of my pet peeves. Not that many places either A, won't serve you salsa as you sit down, or B, worst of all, it's like you got to pay extra for the salsa. It's like, hello, it is our right as Texans, as South Texans, it is our manifest destiny to have salsa for free put in front of us. And God bless Chewy's for that Fresca salsa that has crack in it.
Well, that's asking a lot in a time when we also have to pay for water.
True.
Because everyone's got the bottled water. So if you want bottled water, it's $2. I'm like, I could go to Sam's and get 42 of these for $2.
I know. Oh, and speaking of just water and beverages, and we talked about coffee. So I go to a Whataburger yesterday because the line was not 90 minutes wrapped around the Whataburger in the drive-through and down the road. So I went, and thank goodness they're open, but you go through the drive-through and they've got the big signs that say they have a limited menu because of the weather event last week, but they had no beverages. So can't get any iced tea, can't get any Coca-Cola, no milkshakes, no nothing. So you can have a burger, you can have fries, but you cannot have a beverage.
Is there water in milkshakes?
I didn't think so. I don't know.
Or they can't clean the machine.
Maybe that's it. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, no, I was surprised because my 97-year-old mom likes her chocolate milkshake. So I said, I'll be a good son. I'll get my mom a chocolate milkshake. She'll appreciate me. Nope, ain't happening. Now, maybe by today, the beverages are up and running at Whataburger. I don't know.
Did you ask for a manager?
I did not.
Okay.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to. What is a male Karen? You've got a Karen. What is a male Karen?
I don't know what we call those.
You got to figure that out. Just a jerk. Just.
I think some people just call them men.
Yeah. But I'm bummed.
I think it's Karen and Ken, right?
Is it Ken?
It's Barbie's beau.
That's Barbie and Ken. But no, it should be with a K like Karen.
Yeah, I think I've seen
Karen. And the end of Karen is E-N. So you're starting with the K, and then so K-E-N. Karen and Ken. I like that. I'll tell you what else I like. We like giving away money. It is 6:20. We do this at 6:20 and at 7:20 and throughout the day, both on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin and Ticket 760 in San Antonio. 20 after the hour, all the way up to 8:20, 12 times per day. We do this. It is the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Good luck. The keyword is fun. We'll do that again at 7:20 and throughout the day until 8:20. Speaking of fun, temperatures in the mid-70s today. Shannon, are you going to get outside and have some kind of fun today at all?
I'm sure I'll take my dog for a walk.
An actual walk, or will it be in the doggy stroller?
Oh, an actual walk. Yeah. It's not worth the I think I need to walk to the dog park that I'm by, because this morning at 4 a.m. when I had her outside, there were some people over there doing salsa dancing in the dark
at 4 a.m.
with the music blaring.
At 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
In a doggy park, salsa dancing at 4 a.m.
So many questions.
Wow. I mean, on a certain level, I like that. I mean, if it were disrupting my sleep, I wouldn't be cool with it if I lived near the doggy park. But on a certain level, salsa dancing at 4 a.m. in the doggy park is kind of exotic and intriguing to me.
Right. And at first I didn't hear the music, so I just kind of saw a male and a woman with their arms flailing, and I thought, oh no.
I know what's going on.
We have a problem.
Uh-huh.
And then I hear the music, and then I even more confusion.
Very interesting. Oh, today is the 2-week window, apparently, for NFL to get deals done or franchise tag players. Something I do want to talk about today, Shannon and Sam, is Mr. Dak Prescott. And more and more people are becoming resigned to the Dallas Cowboys going to have to franchise tag Dak. And I mean, all we hear, and it is traditionally, it's the way history is played out in the National Football League. when you franchise a player for a second time, that player tends to move on to another team. Shannon, how worried are you about the future of Dak Prescott in Dallas?
I get more worried as we near that day, the 2 weeks from today, but I still have faith that Dak is doing all he can to remain a Cowboy at this point, just based off the social interactions that he's had online and doing all that research that I can do. But I don't feel great about it because, like we've said, Jerry's been awfully quiet for a long time. There's lots of things he could be talking about, and he's talking about nothing.
Speaking of Jerry being awfully quiet, I know I'm bouncing all over the place here, but we'll lock in on some of these topics throughout the day. I did see, we've talked about Jerry Jones. Now, Dak already did, give money to an organization to help people in the aftermath of the big winter storms in Dallas. The Houston Texans now, I think, was it $500,000? I don't have it in front of me, but I saw it yesterday. The Houston Texans made a major contribution yesterday to people in the city of Houston. So have we heard anything on behalf of Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys yet?
I did go through their Twitter yesterday, and earlier last week they shared I believe it was the Salvation Army post about where you could donate things.
So a post where their fans can donate things.
Yes.
But not necessarily the Dallas Cowboys yet.
Correct.
Doing something.
Do they have a PR team anymore? Maybe that's the problem?
Man, that's a great question.
Did they gut that? We're America's team. We don't need PR. That's all the PR we need.
Besides, Jerry's busy raking it in from, price gouging with the energy company. So we will get into all things Dallas Cowboys. We will talk Texas Longhorns as tonight they take on Kansas, the team they annihilated very early in the season. They handed Bill Self, the Kansas head coach, his worst home loss ever. They're going to be fired up tonight, as Shannon mentions. It's senior night, although no fans in the stands, but hopefully the Longhorns will make a stand tonight. 8 o'clock tip-off. We'll have that for you down here on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. So we'll talk more about that one. We'll talk more about the new college basketball rankings. Number 18, Texas Tech falls in overtime to Oklahoma State last night, 74-69. So the Big 12 just keeps on beating itself up. So we will get into that. And I want to talk about Carson Wentz. He's, becoming an Indianapolis Colt, but Michael Pittman Jr. has that number 11. And according to Michael Pittman Jr., Carson has already talked to him about, maybe letting Carson wear his number 11 as an Indianapolis Colt. But Michael Pittman Jr. says, I don't think so.
I love this story. No, bro, you're not Tom Brady. I'm not giving it up. What? No amount of money can save you from this. And he's worn that since he was at North Dakota his entire time with the Eagles. We know how fragile he is in his mind.
How's that for the huddle? How's that for the relationship between
we're going to run this play. Just know that you're a decoy. I'm never throwing you the ball.
Exactly. I want to get into that. I don't know. Does that make Michael Pittman Jr. the bad guy here? We'll get into all of that and a lot more. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Don't forget, 7 o'clock hour, the Salty Shakedown. He is Sam Freese, the hardest working man who never sleeps in Sports Talk Radio. I'm Chris. You want to join us on the phone lines? 800-707-9760. We'll grab your phone calls coming up as well. And we're streaming live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages. More coming up on the Chris Duel Show. Keep it right here. All right, Wes Perkins, Michelle Johnson, Foam Foot 420, Sam Tobias, Lucinda Sullivan, good morning, Jack Wilson, Roger Salazar, A.D. Ibarra from Eagle Pass. It's your birthday. Let me write that down, A.D. Ibarra. Give you a birthday shout out on the radio when we come back on the radio. Wes Perkins says Tech had an 11-point lead with Cunningham on the bench in foul trouble and then lost in overtime. Laura Burris, good morning. Michelle Johnson from Marysville, Kansas. Wes Perkins, that's a pretty good. You know, Wes, I'm going to go with your poll question, man. I was going to go with, but we can do that. That's kind of evergreen. Shaka Smart, we talk about it a lot. What does he have to do to keep his job? How deep would he have to go in the tournament? But I like yours. And now I just lost it. There it is. With a depleted roster, what will the Spurs record be in the next 3 games? Wes Perkins, you are the author of our poll question. So here we go.
So Shaka is 1-4 on senior night so far.
Whoa, not too pretty. Percentage 200. Well, I don't know this story. I just see it trending on Twitter. Vanessa Bryant addresses leaked lyrics from an unreleased Meek Mill song about her late husband, Kobe Bryant, calling them extremely insensitive and disrespectful on her Instagram story. Shannon, are you aware of that one?
So it's just a snippet of a song. The song I don't think still hasn't been released. And basically there's a line in it that says, I'm going to get in my choppa, and he references Kobe.
Ooh, okay.
Right.
So depleted. We'll probably have to talk about that since it's trending and it's Kobe.
Yours forever, he'll be beyond measure, true as ever. A series of
Whoops. All right, I'm doing the poll question. With a depleted roster, what will the Spurs record be over the next 3 games? As submitted by Wes Perkins, who gets a producer credit for today's show. Poll question posted. See how that looks. All right. I got to stretch a little bit before the next segment. I was sitting too much. Michael Pittman Jr., by the way, was number 6 at USC. Carson Wentz, as you point out, Shannon, was number 11 in college. I don't think it's a smart, even though he's my fellow beloved Trojan, I don't think Michael Pittman Jr. is doing the right thing here. Yeah, Michelle, we are warming up in San Antonio. 75 for a high today. I believe it got to at least 70 yesterday and sunny. So, yeah, thank goodness. Thank you, Sam, for the reminder on AD Ibarra. I can always use reminders. Here we go. Sam Freese, your soundscape stylist, spinning the jams. Thanks for being with us this morning. It is the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and Sam Freese on this Taco Tuesday, February 23rd. A birthday shout out to AD Ibarra from Eagle Pass, Texas. Happy birthday, AD. AD joins us quite a bit on Facebook Live. If you're new to the show, we stream a live video on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages. There's also a YouTube page. You can find us on YouTube. We usually put those links out on Twitter as well. Speaking of Twitter, I did just tweet out the poll question and want to credit Wes Perkins, who has called into the show a number of times for the poll question, because Shannon and Sam, the Spurs will be back in action tomorrow night, but with kind of a skeleton crew. They've got a number of players under the health and safety protocol banner due to COVID-19 concerns. That would be Rudy Gay, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, Devin Vassell, and Quindary Weatherspoon won't play, and leading scorer DeMar DeRozan, as we talked about. In fact, we were on the air when we heard about it. His dad passed away a few days ago, so DeMar DeRozan is on leave with his family in Los Angeles. So, Shannon, that brings us to the poll question. I don't know if you have it in front of you because I just uploaded it based on Wes Perkins' suggestion. So what would our poll question be this morning?
With a depleted roster, what will the Spurs record be over the next 3 games? We've got 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, or 0-3. Currently 2-1, leading the way, followed by 0-3. That was my cynical vote.
Oh, see, I voted for 2-1 because in Pop I trust.
In Pop you trust.
And
I mean, who's left on that team?
Would be delusional. So even I will temper my delusional Spurs.
Are the managers going to get a shot? They're going to hit the court?
Man, I don't know. But they did, and part of the deal was Luka Šamanić and Trey Jones were recalled from the Austin Spurs G League. Part of the reason was that they've got this depleted roster. So it's going to be – and it's too bad because they were playing so well before this COVID thing knocked a few games out, or at least got them postponed. So now, we'll see how they do. Hopefully, I hope they don't go 0-3 in the next 3. But it all begins tomorrow night against Oklahoma City. Tomorrow on this show, we will have Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, at 8:06 to preview that game. And in fact, today at 8:35, Jeff Garcia of the podcast Locked On Spurs and all of his coverage of the Spurs for San Antonio television stations, News 4 San Antonio and Fox 29. Jeff Garcia will talk Spurs, NBA, and more with us at 8:35. We were talking before the break, Shannon and Sam, about wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts not giving up his number 11 to new Colts quarterback Carson Wentz. He told TMZ Sports, "I am number 11. I don't think there's any deal that is going to be done." You mentioned, Shannon, that Carson Wentz wore number 11 all the way back in college. It's been his number. Michael Pittman, a USC Trojan, was number 6 at USC. So it's not like he's been attached to this number 11 for too long.
So it sounds like you want him to give 11 to Wentz.
I just
because Wentz is the big bad quarterback coming in to save your franchise and to take you to the promised land.
No, I just think it's the right thing to do. I think if
what about why?
Because when someone asks a favor of you, if you can be a giver instead of being selfish, then you give of yourself, especially to the team. If tradition is the quarterback, the quarterback is the leader of the huddle. He's the field general. He's the guy who leads your team down the field, hopefully to score touchdowns. I just think Michael Pittman comes off as selfish here. When he gets the opportunity to come off as a giver, he has the opportunity to come off as someone welcoming this new guy to the team.
I can understand that viewpoint. He did tweet, "Hey, welcome Carson Wentz. Let's get to work. Welcome to my new teammate.
No soup for you."
But I mean, the guy's number 11, and he doesn't have to do anything. Like I said, he's not Tom Brady, who is leaving with 6 Super Bowls coming to a new team, who he then takes into a Super Bowl and wins a Super Bowl. He's the greatest of all time going to a new team. There's already number 12. Godwin says, you can have it. That's Tom Brady. This is not Tom Brady. This guy has done nothing but fall backwards for the last couple of years. If anything, he should want a new number to start fresh. Forget number 11 Carson Wentz and go be some other number Carson Wentz. And I'm looking at people's comments under Michael Pittman's tweet welcoming Carson Wentz and saying, don't give him your number. I just bought your jersey. Don't give him your number. So you have to, I don't know how many jerseys this guy sells, but I wouldn't want to have to get a new jersey for my favorite wide receiver on the Indianapolis Colts, Mr. Michael Pittman Jr.
It's like, hey man, I was with Michael Pittman Jr. from the get-go. I'm an old school. So all right, so Shannon, you were saying Michael Pittman Jr. is right. Keep your number 11. Carson, deal with it.
I don't think it's a big deal. I don't know that he needs to go around and be like, I'm not gonna give him my number. But if you don't want to give it, you don't want to give it.
All right, I am saying Michael Pittman Jr. could establish himself as a giver, a good guy, a team player, a guy welcoming this new quarterback to the Indianapolis Colts. Sam Freese, you break the tie here. Michael Pittman Jr. won't give up number 11. Good thing, bad thing, right thing, wrong thing. What do you think about it?
Does whatever number Carson Wentz wears, is that going to affect his play on the field?
For the psyche that he has, probably.
Okay, actually, with his softest Charmin psyche, yeah, you're probably right. He does need number 11. All right, I reverse course. Give him number 11 if you're going to save that franchise.
Wow.
If I'm Wentz, I'm like, give me 12. Give me 12. 12 seems to work well for people.
I think this is just a massive ass whip of a story, because at the end of the day, it doesn't have any effect whatsoever on the outcome of their season. I think expecting the guy to give up his number is pretty condescending to a former teammate. If you think,
but I don't think you expected. I think you asked,
well,
and if
the guy said no.
Okay, well, to me, the guy saying no is it's like if I ask you, Sam, anything, or if you ask me, hey man, can you go get me a cup of coffee, Chris? It's like, yeah, if I'm busy, if I can give you something, you're on my team. If I can give you something, even if it inconveniences me, if I can, I want to do that.
But that coffee is a consistent good. It's something that we're both going to enjoy the same way. The number is not the same. It's more equivalent of you and I both drive cars, very different cars. If I walk up to you on the way out and I say, hey, I want to trade cars with you. I want your car. You can have mine. You're just expected to say, oh, well, I guess for the good of
I'm a giver.
I'm a giver. Let's trade cars.
See, I don't think I'm expected. See, that's where I differ with you a little bit on the analogy or on the jersey. I don't think Michael Pittman Jr. is expected to give up his number 11, but I would, if it were me, and if I were an Indianapolis Colts fan, I would hope he would give it up for the new quarterback of his team.
Now, when AD went to the Lakers, there was discussion of, will LeBron give him 23?
And it would have been nice.
LeBron still wears 23.
You're right. No, you're right.
He could have gone back to 6.
But no, and Sam, you just said it's not going to make any difference in the play of Carson Wentz whether he wears number 11 or not. And yet, you know how athletes are about their numbers. It's
if it does make a difference, then you just wasted 2 draft picks on a guy that, again, his performance is dictated by whether he gets the number he wants or not. We're talking about grown-ass men playing a kid's game and getting paid millions to do it. Whatever number they wear out there should not have a single effect on their performance. And every conversation I've heard regarding this, it just feels like everyone expected the Pittman to give up his number. It felt like, well, like you even said, like, well, it's tradition. When a new quarterback comes in, he usually gets the number he wants. Well, old football tradition was tape rookies to the goalpost. They don't do that anymore. Like, maybe that's another tradition that needs to die.
All right, I'm open to it. I just and right now, all right. Question number 2 on this. Michael Pittman Jr. would like to receive as many passes as possible, I would imagine, from Carson Wentz. What do you think this does for their relationship? And if a quarterback, and we've talked about Carson Wentz's psyche, if a quarterback comes in and doesn't love a receiver as much as he maybe should, will that affect their relationship moving forward? Could that be a bad thing?
I mean, Carson Wentz probably already trying to get the guy traded, so I don't know that he'll have to worry about it too much longer.
Yeah.
Again, if a argument over a number is going to change the way you offensively scheme to try to win games, you have much bigger issues with the guy you just brought into your clubhouse and the guy you drafted last year at wide receiver. I mean, I think if we're going to question whether he's going to get as many targets as he would if he gives up the number, that means that whole thing is set to fail from the beginning.
Now, one of you, it might have been Sam, or maybe both of you mentioned number 12. Wasn't that Andrew Luck? I don't think, if you're Carson Wentz and now you're looking for a new number, I don't think you go with number 12 because that was a relatively recent quarterback who was very, very successful for the Colts and certainly had the identity with that number. And there's even talk about, might Andrew Luck ever come back? So I don't think you take number 12, do you?
Oh, well, I just like the idea of number 12 with all of, like you said, all the success that has been with people who have worn that number. But
Roger.
yeah, you make a good point with Andrew Luck there. I don't think Andrew Luck even knows that people are talking about him maybe coming back because he's not on social media at all. And that's the only place I've really seen the rumors of it. I don't think they're legit, though.
Even the Confederate
no way.
Andrew Luck Twitter account. Is that still around? Remember that?
Oh, like his doppelganger?
Yeah, from his letters from the Civil War home.
I think it officially signed off when he walked away.
I think you're right.
Because he doesn't have social media, the only way we saw Andrew Luck was through football.
Yeah.
And this man, he's probably out in the wilderness with a giant beard and a flannel shirt, just living his best life, chopping wood every day.
Very, very cool. We have a phone call. We'll grab a phone call here. You can dial us up at any time, 800-707-9760. On the phone line is Paul. Paul would like to talk Texas Longhorns. Paul, thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My heart and prayers go for all the citizens of Austin and throughout our planet with this weather. Anyway, since y'all bringing up quarterbacks, I've got something intriguing to give to y'all.
Okay.
For sophomore quarterback from Alabama, Paul Tyson, is considering transferring to University of Texas. The big hoopah is that he's the great grandson of Paul W. Bear Bryant. Nick Saban has a situation over there because I think he may have to give up that quarterback so he could transfer. So I heard it from an Alabama friend of mine the other day. So I'll just hang up and y'all have an excellent show. But I wanted to spread that good news. I'll repeat, Paul Thompson, sophomore redshirt quarterback from Alabama, is considered transferring, go to the University of Texas here at Austin. So hook 'em horns. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Paul, for the phone call. The great-grandson of Bear Bryant, according to Paul. I was not aware of this. Shannon, Sam, were you aware of this story?
I've been hearing rumblings of a potential quarterback controversy, which is kind of to be expected anyway with your main man leaving campus and a new head coach and coaching regime coming in. Nothing is official. But with something like that, we'll wait until the kid gets on campus, should he in fact come to Texas, before we start talking who's going to be the quarterback.
If this kid is the great-grandson of Paul Bear Bryant and leaving Alabama, I mean, my goodness. That's kind of a bold move. You would think that guy would want to be a legacy at Alabama, but if he's not getting playing time from Nick Saban, maybe you like Sark and maybe you do that. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. With the name connection, I would expect him to fight his ass off to try to win that starting job this year. I mean, he's going up against one of Saban's former 5-star signee quarterbacks. I can't think of the kid's name right now, but it's a two-headed race to see who's going to be the starter there. So I think it's a little quick to project one of them leaving already. But then again, I mean, we've seen how we saw Tua's brother leave Alabama and go to Maryland. You talk about, some level of, heritage name within the university. And Tua's brother left after, I think it was either just a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore year. So it's, it as much as we see, hell, Tech just got Oregon starting quarterback who's eligible for the next 3 years. I mean, the transfer portal is absolutely turning college sports on its head. So I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing we see. Absolutely.
And you talk about Alabama quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, one of them as well, who went to Oklahoma and now is the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, apparently. Now that Carson Wentz, not number 11, is an Indianapolis Colt. So interesting story, Paul. Thanks for that. Thanks for calling in with it. If you want to dial us up like Paul just did, you are always welcome. 800-707-9760. You can tweet at us. Oh, somebody tweeted at me and said, "What if I went to Southern California in college? Why did I go to Whataburger and not In-N-Out Burger yesterday? Because it was on the way. Because it was more convenient. There's a lot more Whataburgers on the way home. If I see an In-N-Out Burger, I'll pull in. But there's just 4 of them in San Antonio.
I bet they have milkshakes.
Maybe there's one on the other direction. Maybe I'll do that after the show. Get me an In-N-Out milkshake. They do have good milkshakes. Their fries, not so good. Quick break. More coming up. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's the Chris Duel Show. Keith Rocco, the original Rock, co-founder of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club, THE Rock, the human element, man's threat, woman's pet, Steve DeRocco. Welcome in. I got to check something. Purdue. All right. And let me check one more thing here. Let's see. Yeah, David, I might need that hard hat for multiple games now with the Spurs with so many players out. Wes Perkins, Pittman may have special meaning honoring a life event or something in his life. You want to hear Pittman's side too. All right, there's that. Apparently he spoke to TMZ Sports. Let me see if I can find that story on TMZ Sports. Muses mentioning Randy Beamer is retiring. Randy Beamer, a long time San Antonio TV news anchor. In fact, I think now he would be the longest tenured San Antonio news anchor, right? Maybe not. Maybe Deborah Knapp on Ken's 5. She might be longer. Deborah Knapp goes back to when Steve Duraco and I were in high school. That's way back. And she's still a news anchor at Ken's 5. Nice Star Wars shirt. I just noticed that.
Who? I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt too.
Wow, Shannon's wearing a Star Wars shirt. Did you guys get together before the show? Sam wants to see it. What describe your Star Wars shirt if we can't see it? What? Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Nice.
and on the back it's just got the scroll.
You're not on camera now for some reason for her.
Oh, I can
Okay, well, she's about to now show. Now you can show her. There you go.
Okay. Nice.
Very- All right. Thank you.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah.
Now, Chris Duel.
On a Taco Tuesday that is going to be a beautiful Taco Tuesday. And after last week, I think we earned it. Sunny skies, temperatures in the mid-70s across Central and South Texas today. That would include Austin, San Antonio, and all points in between. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. This hour, the Salty Shakedown is coming your way. We've got this day in sports history, sports birthdays. In fact, in sports history, something was thrown on this day in 1985. It wasn't a ball. Something was thrown. But yeah, we'll get into it. It was kind of a big deal, but there's that. Let's see. We are streaming live video, as we always do, on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages. You can join us on the phone lines like Paul did in the last half hour. You can dial us up 800-707-9760. You can tweet at us. Shannon is on Twitter at Shannon P. Sweeney. That actually works on all of her social media, I do believe, including TikTok and Instagram, where she is quite prolific. Sam Freese, the hardest working man in sports talk radio, on Twitter at Biggest Puma. I am on Twitter at Chris Duel. And I did notice, Shannon and Sam, we did get a couple of tweets lately. And let me see if I can pull some of those up. King 11 Kaiju, if I have that right, says, Shannon is absolutely right. Carson Wentz should want a fresh start with the new number and show that he isn't the diva and head case that everyone says he is. Also, when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs, he didn't wear number 16. He changed to number 19. Okay, so that's a good point.
Agreed.
Gosh, I just scrolled out of it. I'll try to pull it back up. I was reading the story about Michael Pittman Jr. and Carson Wentz on TMZ Sports. And according to Michael Pittman Jr., Carson Wentz asked nicely and was cool with it. He apparently, according to Michael Pittman Jr., wanted to know how locked in on number 11 Michael Pittman Jr. is, and Michael Pittman Jr. said, I'm very locked in on it. And apparently Carson Wentz then told him, well, that's cool. I was going to change numbers anyway. I just wanted to check. So apparently, while we discussed the merits of it, apparently they're both okay. And they're both cool.
Is he really cool with it, or is he just saying that because he was told no?
I don't know. That's a good question. Some of the quotes from Michael Pittman Jr., he said, I am number 11. I don't think there's any deal that's going to be done. But then he went on to say, quote, yeah, I spoke with Carson, and he was just seeing how locked in I was to number 11. And I told him I was locked in. And he was like, that's cool, bro, because I'm probably going to switch anyway. He said, quote, he asked me very respectfully, and I just appreciated him for that. I think he's a great dude because lots of guys with his status, they would come in and demand stuff like that. He's just a super chill guy, and I can't wait to get with him and start throwing and stuff. So, based on those quotes, it sounds like it's all good between these two guys.
I love how he says, I am number 11. Like, no one knew who you are until today, bro.
Good point. Yeah, I am number 11. Dude, you were number 6 at USC.
Yeah.
What happened to number 6, man?
Like someone on the Colts. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe when he got to the Colts, someone else had number 6. And so he couldn't get it. And so now he's returning the favor by not returning the favor.
Yeah, we might have to check into that. So, and someone pointed out, the poll question is the Spurs are missing a lot of guys. And we'll get deeper into this a little bit later in the show. But they're back after a long layoff. They had games postponed because of COVID safety protocols. So tomorrow night, when they resume play for the first time since Valentine's Day at Oklahoma City, the Spurs are going to be without Rudy Gay, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, Devin Vassell, and Quindary Weatherspoon for COVID protocols, and DeMar DeRozan with his family back in the Los Angeles area after the passing just a few days ago of his father. So our poll question is, over the next 3 games, what will the Spurs record be? Will it be 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, or 0-3? And I said, Shannon, 2-1. I didn't even think. Chris Gonzalez on Twitter tweeted at us and said, what does Meatloaf say? And Meatloaf says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So I didn't even think about Meatloaf, Shannon, but yet I should have. I just automatically defaulted to Meatloaf, and 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Have you even heard that song, Shannon? Have we had this discussion?
I think we've referenced the line before. So out of the 3 games, what 2 are you envisioning they get the wins from?
Pull up their schedule, which I don't have in front of me.
We've got the Thunder, the Pelicans, and the Nets.
Ooh, gosh, they got the Nets coming up?
Yep.
I guess I better go. I guess I better go Thunder, Pelicans, although every so often the Spurs will win a game you don't think they're going to win, like at the Lakers and at the Clippers earlier this season.
Which is what good teams do.
Which is what, yeah. So, and then they'll always lose a game. I think it might have been one of the ones that was postponed. Somebody pointed out, and it's true, it's like almost every year often on the rodeo road trip, the Spurs will lose to the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden, no matter how bad the Knicks are. It seems like the Knicks every year win that game at home against the Spurs.
Well, it's fun that you mentioned the Knicks because after they play the Nets, they play the Knicks.
So that's so hopefully. But see, this year is everything's different. What's up is down and what's down is up. And the Spurs are 9-3 on the road now. So, but then again, that with 5 players out, it's going to be interesting. So we shall see. What else is going on? Meanwhile, in the NBA, we talked about this yesterday. Don't sleep on the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz won again last night. That makes it, they have won 21 out of their last 23 games. So they are 21-2. It automatically just, even now, I think most people do not assume that the Utah Jazz are the favorites to win the NBA Finals. And already, some people are already saying Brooklyn Nets, man, they're favorites now to win the East, and they're probably going to win the Finals. The Utah Jazz, just because they're the Utah Jazz, people think, eventually the Lakers or the Clippers or somebody else is going to come out of the West. 21-2, 25-6 overall are the Utah Jazz. That is the best 31-game record in the history of the franchise, including every team that had Karl Malone and John Stockton. Should we be paying more attention to the Utah Jazz, Shannon?
Yes, especially because they are starting to pull away, right? The back half of the season is typically where we start to see that separation. I'm curious, the Spurs right now are obviously so depleted because of COVID. If we remember Rudy Gobert touching all the microphones, right?
He was the dude. Yeah.
I mean, and then they right. And so they got their COVID situation kind of over and done with before it really became a thing. So I don't know if them being healthy compared to the rest of the field has been to their advantage in a year like this.
Yeah, they had 3 guys. I'm looking at their box score last night. The Jazz beat the Charlotte Hornets 132-110. 3 guys off the bench had 20 points or more. Joe Ingles, Georgia Niang, easy for me to say, and Jordan Clarkson, a San Antonio high school product. The 3 guys off the bench scoring 20 or more. And Donovan Mitchell scoring 23 as a starter. Yeah, they're going to be interesting. And I've heard, in addition to that 21 out of the last 23, I think they've won something like 14 in a row at home. So don't sleep on the Utah Jazz. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Timberwolves fired Ryan Saunders, and they replace him with Chris Finch. They don't go with an interim head coach. They just say that Chris Finch, a former Toronto Raptor, he was with the Toronto Raptors until this week, is the new full-fledged head coach. So that's kind of, most NBA teams won't do that. Most NBA teams will go with an interim head coach, and it will be an interim head coach who was on the staff of the head coach who was just fired. And there's a little bit of blowback in the NBA, and I know Damian Lillard tweeted out, because one of the the lead assistant to Ryan Saunders is a very qualified coach and is African American, and Chris Finch is a white guy. This almost looks once again like the NBA and the franchise not going for maybe the more qualified candidate and not going for diversity in this case. So there's a little bit of blowback on this choice as to more white guys getting the call in a league that is overwhelmingly African American among its players.
Yeah, and super interesting, again, like you said, that instead of going with an interim guy within the organization already, they pulled someone from a different team. So, I mean, the Timberwolves 7-24 so far this season. They've been struggling for a while. So internally, they probably knew for a while that we are going to be looking for a new guy. Once we find him and get an agreement, then we will kick our other coach out the door. But, I don't know if it'll change anything for them this season. They're already so far behind the rest of the pack, but we'll see. They can only go up from here, from where they've been, because they've been horrendous. I mean, my Mavs have beaten them, okay? And the Mavs are not looking hot.
I just want to, and I had heard that Damian Lillard has been posting about this, and obviously Damian Lillard with the Portland Trailblazers.
Dame Dalla?
Yep. But he retweeted Kendrick Perkins, who tweeted, this is a retweet of a Kendrick Perkins post that Damian Lillard retweeted, who writes, "This is bigger than an African-American coach getting passed over for another coaching position. It's about African-Americans being in the front office in a position of power to provide those opportunities, and there aren't many. Representation and relationships," and then in all caps, real talk. And apparently that's part of the deal too. The general manager of the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't have his name in front of me right now, but he apparently worked with Chris Finch back at the Houston Rockets when Chris Finch, the new Minnesota Timberwolves head coach, was a Houston Rockets assistant. So that apparently is, something that happens quite a bit. Guys choose guys who they've worked with before.
Who you know, not what you know.
Yeah. So, but again, you gotta wonder, what if the right choice was made. So, anyway,
It sounds very much like the Eric Bieniemy situation.
Yes. Yeah, you've got that going on in the NFL with Eric Bieniemy, who, what were there, like 6 new head coaches in the NFL, and going into the new coaching hiring season, the hot name out there was Eric Bieniemy, and that dude doesn't get a gig.
Yeah.
So
Well, at least he was interviewed.
yeah. Which, no, I mean, if they didn't even interview him, what? Yeah, I mean, imagine the blowback there. Imagine the outcry there. So you wonder if those interviews, with the Rooney Rule, where you are required to interview, diverse candidates. You wonder if NFL teams in that case are just going through the motions. All right, it is 7:20. We do this at 6:20 and 7:20. In fact, we do it 12 times throughout the day at 20 after the hour, between 6:20 and 8:20, both on AM 1300 The Zone and on Ticket 760. It is the grand in your hand cash contest. Here it is.
Your chance to win $1,000 is right now. Text the nationwide keyword dollar to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. Once again, that's dollar to 200-200.
Good luck. And as we talk about management, maybe not doing the right thing, or maybe not doing due diligence, or maybe not casting a wide net and hiring diverse and qualified candidates. You've also got this story of the Seattle Mariners president and CEO, Kevin Mather, resigning yesterday after he was making comments to the Bellevue Washington Rotary Club, where he was, he was, making comments about players who did not speak English well. And even in some of those comments, acting as if the players were doing that intentionally. I more and more, Shannon, I see, these white sports executives doing and saying things that are ridiculous, and certainly saying things that, anybody with any sense in the year 2021 would be beyond saying. I mean, even if you said these things in 1951 or 1961, they would be insensitive and wrong. They probably wouldn't get you fired or get you in a position where you would need to resign. But, here we have another guy just thoughtlessly stepping into it for some of the comments he made.
It's absurd that these kind of comments are still made, but super happy that these guys are either being fired or resigned, whether or not they're asked to, but they are getting out the door. Sports are meant to be, that's what's so great about them, is that you don't have to communicate verbally, whatever, any language you speak from around the world. All you have to know are the rules of the game, and that's for all sports. And baseball specifically is known for, all of the people from around the world who come and want to be in the MLB. They want to make it to the big show. So to have him behind closed doors saying things like that is disparaging, not just to his team, but to the organization and to baseball in general, because we know it's such a popular sport. It's not my favorite sport, but so many people around the world love it. And they all do speak different languages, but they all speak the language of baseball. So why he would allow himself to even have those thoughts and then say them out loud, I do not understand.
Yeah, 30% of Major League Baseball players come from foreign countries, and most of those are Latin American countries, like the Dominican Republic. So, yeah, for him to be that insensitive and thoughtless with his comments. I mean, my God, and he was like, the president of the team. That was just president and CEO. So it's not like. And again, if it were like a lower level manager or somebody in the front, that would still be ridiculous. And you go, dude,
Right.
evolve, please. This guy, Kevin Mather, was the president and CEO. I mean, you talk about the buck stops here, and a guy who should have maximum awareness and maximum sensitivity to everything that you just cite, Shannon, about players coming from all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of countries to come play Major League Baseball here in America. It's just mind blowing that, and it's like every month or two, we'll have a story like this where someone will say something ridiculous and there will be blowback for it, and in some cases, heads will roll or people will be fired or have to resign. Now this guy's gone.
Yeah, and everything like that trickles down. So now you have to wonder about the rest of the staff, if they've been, almost manipulated, or if he hired like-minded people to begin with to work within that organization. If they still have an issue, even though that guy's out the door. And you talk about every now and then we have a story like this. We have to talk about Dan Snyder and the Washington football team. I saw a story today that Jeff Bezos may be a majority owner of that team.
Yes,
soon. You wonder if he comes in, if he insists on getting a guy like Dan Snyder out the door, because Bezos, of course, the richest man, I think, in the world, right? I mean, dude is known, and he does not need his name and businesses tarnished by a guy like Dan Snyder.
And oh, by the way, Jeff Bezos recently bought the Washington Post, so he has a major business in that town, in the Washington, D.C. area. And he's moved the Amazon headquarters to Arlington, Virginia, which is very nearby. And I've been
he's
saying,
going to own that whole area.
Yeah, but I mean, Shannon, the only thing I don't like about Jeff Bezos is apparently Amazon has not paid taxes in years. That's a whole different discussion that we could get into. But I think that's a little ridiculous with all the money Amazon is making. But I have for years thought Daniel Snyder needs to be out of the league. I think the NFL will make itself a better league if they find a way to jettison Dan Snyder from Washington. So I would applaud Jeff Bezos buying the Washington football team. Quick break coming up. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and Shannon's Salty Shakedown. It's all coming your way. Then just after 8 o'clock, or actually he'll be at 8:35, Jeff Garcia of Locked On Spurs. We're with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Woo! That was interesting. Went to silence. Luisa,
I'd lost my train of thought there in the middle of what I was saying.
To Tim Duncan and Spurs Give in supporting Black Restaurant Week and the San Antonio Food Bank. Absolutely. Very cool of both of them, both of those organizations. Armando Herrera says, and I didn't know this, Armando, says Jeep is having problems with their Jeep Cherokee vehicle and the Cherokee Nation.
I'm assuming that's just like because of.
And again, Jeep Cherokees have been around for so long that if you don't stop and think about it,
yeah.
Would someone find that offensive? And apparently you're suggesting, Armando, that they do. And it is kind of interesting. They don't name a Jeep after another ethnicity. Irish people, the Jeep Hungarian. That would be odd. But Jeep Cherokee, and so many people just assume that's cool. All right. I am going to grab some more water. I'll be back in about 90 seconds. I will put on my Ted Cruz commemorative I'm coming back from Cancun mask. Woo! Woo! Be right back. Moose's going for lunch at Big Bib Barbecue today. Very cool. Wally's Deli is open today at the Oaks on Silicon Drive. If anybody's looking for some great sandwiches and a great guy, Walter Pasacreta, go to the Oaks on Silicon Drive. Wally, I'm guessing what, like 11 to 1, 11 to 2, something like that? Thank you. Yeah, and especially after that winter. And Wally, we may need to get you on the show later in the week, of which we only have 3 days left in the week. But yeah, especially now, locally owned businesses, if you can help them out. You know, the chains, after that horrible weather event that, threw most of us for a loop. Support Wally's Deli food truck. 11 to 2. Welcome back in. Music provided by Sam Freese, the hardest working man in sports talk radio. Shannon Salty Sweeney and me, Chris Duel show until 9 o'clock this morning on a Taco Tuesday. On what is forecast to be an absolutely beautiful day, sunny skies across central and south Texas, highs in the mid-70s, especially after last week. If you get an opportunity, get outside, soak up that sun, and enjoy this Tuesday, I think, a lot more than we enjoyed last Tuesday. In a moment, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, but first, let's take a look at this day in sports history. On this day, this is crazy. On this day in 1958, five-time Formula One World Drivers Champion Juan Manuel Fangio, is kidnapped by Cuban rebels from Fidel Castro's 26th of July movement. He is later released after the Cuban Grand Prix. Tough crowd. You're going to go race in the Cuban Grand Prix, and Fidel Castro's rebels kidnap you. Luckily, they didn't kill the guy. I didn't even know about that. That was in 1958. This day in 1964, the 6th Daytona 500 race was won by Richard Petty. He led... no relation to Tom Petty, but I like both of them. He led for a record 184 out of 200 laps. This day in 1968, Wilt Chamberlain becomes the first NBA player to score 25,000 points, which is 15,000 more than the women he claimed to have been intimate with. I'm just saying. This day in 2014, the 56th Daytona 500 was won by Dale Earnhardt Jr. He breaks a 55-race winless streak to win his second Great American Race. And the biggest story, in my opinion, on this day in sports history, in 1985, on this night, Indiana basketball coach Bobby Knight throws a chair across the court in a game against Purdue. Indiana lost 72-63, and it is said that it was that act that led to his downfall, among other things, as the head coach of Indiana. Bobby Knight throwing the chair.
Classic.
Yes, that, I mean, to this day, that's classic footage.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was recently.
He went straight Bob Knight. Like tried to reenact it, basically. I bet it still does well in certain parts of the state.
I would think so. Yeah. And you got to believe that as a coach, you know, he's seen that video a million times. So he just probably figured that was a go-to move when he was frustrated. That's this day in sports history. Now, how about sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1937, Tom Osborne, also known as Dr. Tom Osborne, longtime Nebraska head football coach. He would then become a congressman in Nebraska, and then he'd come back and become the athletic director of Nebraska. He was born on this day in 1937. Born on this day in 1943, Oakland Raiders wide receiver Fred Biletnikoff, who I do believe is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but Cliff Branch is not. Born on this day in 1963, American outfielder Bobby Bonilla, Mets, Orioles, Marlins. Bobby Bonilla was born in New York City, but the marquee birthday. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of Bobby Bonilla, so you know Tatis Jr. just signed that deal.
Yeah.
I think Bonilla's deal with the Mets, he's going to get paid out 2 more years after that.
Whoa.
Tatis Jr.'s contract runs up.
How many total years roughly do you think that is for Bonilla?
Oh, what was it? We looked it up not too long ago. I think it's like 30.
My
Somewhere
God.
30 something.
It's good to be Bobby Bonilla. It's a good gig if you can get it. But the marquee birthday, born on this day in 1951, Ed Too Tall Jones, number 72, Cowboys defensive end, Pro Bowl, All-Pro in 81 to 83, won the Super Bowl in 77 with the Cowboys. Quit football for a while to start a boxing career, and then came back to the Cowboys. Happy birthday, Ed Too Tall Jones. Those are your sports birthdays. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, it is the Salty Shakedown. Shannon, what's going on?
Alrighty, let's get right into this, sir. You know, you and I really want to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame game,
Yes.
Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the Hall of Fame museum, all the good stuff, including anything Hall of Fame. Something we could see there, should we end up there in August, is Andy Reid's face shield from the 2020 season, including a hat to go along with the display. This is the face shield. Was worn in game. Not sure if it was the one he wore the first game that got completely fogged up due to his heavy breathing. They eventually went with some of the NHL's fancy spray that allows the fog to not be as much of an issue. And then, of course, later in the season, he ended up just going to a face mask as the COVID masking rules shifted in the NFL. I get it from a point of history in years down the line of, look, coaches had to wear these during this season because there was a pandemic going on. Right now, though, it feels a little too soon.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Would you make it a point to go visit the Andy Reid face mask at the Hall of Fame?
Well, just hearing you say game-worn face shield. I mean, so many collectors want a game-worn jersey. Ooh,
Right.
That's a game-worn jersey. You make a huge point, though. It is a little too. We're still in the pandemic. But you know, if you're going to tell the history of the game, and I hope 40 years from now, there's kids going that say, "What the heck is that?" In this pandemic, I mean, certainly less than that in the future is so much in our rearview mirror that people will have a hard time remembering. So, given its strangeness and notoriety, I get it, but you're right. It seems a little too soon to me.
I love the display because it's just a blank head bust with a Kansas City Chiefs hat and a face shield. And you know, we go back to game worn. It's still just a piece of plexiglass curved to fit the face. Probably not the most exciting thing, but yes, years down the line, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they add even more, you know, some cotton swabs that were in the noses of the greats like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers next to the face shield for their multi times a week COVID testing. So we'll see if they add anything else from the year that was the 2020-2021 football season. A little recap from yesterday. We talked to Cam Newton and his attendance at the 7-on-7 camp where he was there to coach up the youth. Got into a bit of a discussion with a young player who was going at Cam, calling him trash, saying how he's going to be a free agent, this, that, and the other. By the way, Cam disputed that. He said he wants to remain with the Patriots. He said he's not going to retire because there aren't 32 quarterbacks better than him. So he says. So that remains to be seen. But this kid has since taken to the Notes app and posted to his Twitter an apology to Cam. I don't think it was proofread or sent to a PR firm prior because there are plenty of mistakes. And it seems kind of like an apology because I got caught on video and not necessarily. He basically talked about how great of a competitor he is. And that is why it got the best of him in that moment. It didn't go the way he intended. So I guess he was originally planning to call out Cam in some fashion, the way this apology reads. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Chris, but do you think this kid can be redeemed and his football career salvaged after the internet and the world lit him up for the way he came at Cam?
I did glance at his Notes app apology. Again, there's so many angles to this story. It just reeks to me, Shannon, of kids today are being brought up on Twitter and social media where the move number one is to dog somebody, to mock somebody, to disparage somebody. And he just did it in person. He did what people would have done on Twitter. And I just hope he learned something. And I hope maybe other kids and adults learn, let's behave a little bit better in public.
Yeah, there needs to be a class for social media, like Keyboard Warrior 101 or something, just to think before you tweet, think before you say, that kind of thing. Hopefully this kid, I haven't watched his film, even though he told everyone to go watch his film. It's actually, if you go to his Twitter page, the pinned tweet is watch my film. So I'm not sure just how good he is. Obviously he was good enough to get invited to the 7-on-7, but I don't know. He's already going to be labeled a cancer in the locker room after something like this happens. So we'll see what his future has in store. Next, we learned weeks ago that NCAA football was going to be coming back. EA Sports, it's making its return, although it won't be out for about another 2 years. Obviously, a lot of development has to go into making a game, especially games like this with such great detail. However, Notre Dame announced yesterday that as of right now, they do not wish to be included in the game because they want to make sure that the players are paid. Discussions have yet to really be started, and if players will be paid for their name, image, and likeness. Obviously, a huge contention as to why the game originally stopped getting published. Notre Dame, though, one of the best, if not the most notoriable football program in the NCAA. What? We're not going to have them to play as in this game?
Screws up your game. Yeah.
Is this going to? So now the questions are: Will other schools follow suit? Will they finally start having a discussion to get players paid, or some sort of I don't know what else you do other than pay them? And will this hurt Notre Dame's recruiting chances? Because being in a video game is a pretty awesome deal. And if I can go to one school who has a great chance of success and I get to be in a video game versus another school where I can't be in a video game, I don't know, maybe that sways me a little bit. Would it sway you, Chris?
I didn't even think of that angle, Shannon. That's brilliant. Will it affect recruiting? And when you said it from the angle of, would an athlete not want to go there? Because if I go to Notre Dame, I might not get on the video game because they're not participating. The other thing that strikes me as you say it is other young kids playing the game. If I can play with the Texas Longhorns and the Alabama Crimson Tide and Notre Dame's not there, am I less prone to have Notre Dame on my mind? So it's a fascinating dynamic. Hopefully the result of this is EA Sports just doing the right thing and coming to an accord with Notre Dame and other colleges to make sure that they're in this. But you're right. I mean, you think of the biggest brands in college football, Texas, Alabama, certainly Notre Dame would be top 5, I would think. It's a big deal.
I'm sure we'll start to see other schools chime in here and there as we get closer and closer to the release date. And finally, a little bonus for you today. Can't believe we haven't talked about it yet on Taco Tuesday, but Taco Bell announces that they are getting into the chicken sandwich game with a tortilla strip fried chicken sandwich taco. Also available in spicy, which just means they add 2 jalapenos onto it. It is not going live until March in just 2 markets and then a later nationwide rollout. I'm a fan of the chicken wars in general, but I just don't. I don't know. Taco Bell got rid of a ton of menu items recently, and now they're bringing in a chicken sandwich. And also, we live in Texas. We live in Texas.
Sandwich and a taco.
Right. We live in Texas. There's a time and place for Taco Bell. It's usually after some drinks.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
don't
of.
know who's rolling up to Taco Bell the second this sandwich drops. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Taco Bell? And are you game with the chicken wars? Because that Popeye's chicken sandwich, that's delicious. That's my favorite.
A little known fact, I am an alumnus of Taco Bell. I worked at Taco Bell as like a 16-year-old. My go-to item, I don't know if it's still on the menu, it was the Burrito Supreme. In fact,
I have that one still. I think they got rid of the 7-layer burritos, but they got rid of it.
And I think I got fired. My friends would come in and I'd just make them free burritos. It's like, here, Steve DeRocco,
Right.
have a Burrito Supreme on me. And I think management looked down upon that by giving out free burritos from Taco. It was the Taco Bell on Wurzbach Road, just off I-10. For those of you who know San Antonio, that's. I know that Taco Bell has a marketing department. And I know everybody wants to make more money and create more food items. But, I mean, that sounds a little ridiculous off-brand to me, that a Taco Bell chicken sandwich putting a chicken strip inside a taco with jalapenos. And again, I'm all for tacos and I'm all for innovation, but that's a little, what do you think?
I don't know that I'm here for it. I think I'd rather them bring back some of the other menu items like the Mexican pizza and the potatoes and things of that nature before we get into a fried chicken game. And also, that's so 2019. The chicken sandwich wars. What are you doing, Taco Bell? What are you doing?
Well, see, and I'm amazed, on a Taco Tuesday, that Taco Bell survives in Texas, in Austin, and in San Antonio, where you have so many other taco choices. From a mom and pop taco place to Torchy's Tacos, to Taco Cabana or Las Palapas. I mean, there's a million places to go get tacos. And it would seem to me, if you're into tacos, and no offense to anybody who works at Taco Bell, I used to work at Taco Bell, although it was the 1970s, get off my lawn. I'm amazed that they turn a profit in Austin, in San Antonio, and across Texas when you've got so many other taco. I'm looking at Fox News. It's the story right now. Taco Bell unveils chicken sandwich. You are so locked in on the Salty Shakedown, Shannon. Fox News are doing your Taco Bell story as we speak.
Well, it's a little hurtful that they didn't come talk to me first. But like you mentioned, how Taco Bell survives, the drag on Guadalupe on campus had one of the fancy Taco Bell cantinas for about 18 months where they sold adult slushies as well.
Really?
I guess they didn't sell enough because they ended up shutting down that location.
Adult slushies with alcohol sold from a Taco Bell?
Mm-hmm. There's these Taco Bell cantinas. There's not very many of them, but that's their thing because, they normally have the slushies.
Yeah.
But these you could get flavored.
My goodness, I might have to rethink Taco Bell in that case.
Okay. And did you know there's a Taco Bell hotel?
No.
Yeah. The pool floaties are giant blow-up versions of their sauce packets.
Hey, what self-respecting adult is going to go stay at the Taco Bell hotel?
See, Taco Bell has a cult-like following.
Really?
So people are all over this kind of thing. I think people here go to it out of convenience and price point. I am one of those people.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Give me a Crunchwrap Supreme. That was like the spot going to driver's ed because you had 30 minutes between after school and driver's ed, and Taco Bell was in between. Where else do you want me to go?
Wow.
I'm 15 years old.
Convenience is a big deal. Yep. Are you old enough, Shannon, to remember the Taco Bell Chihuahua? Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's where I learned how to speak Spanish.
That was like that little Chihuahua. That was, I got to admit, one of the coolest ad campaigns ever. I think I had a T-shirt with that Chihuahua on it.
Yeah, they need to bring that back.
Yeah, he was cool. The Taco Bell Hotel.
Oh yeah, should we go?
I mean, I'm just out of coolish curiosity, and just where is the hotel? The Taco Bell Hotel.
Oh, I think it's somewhere in California, and I don't know if it was like a pop-up thing, but it was huge when it was announced.
I never heard of the Taco Bell
I don't know if it's like an all-inclusive thing where you can be poolside and they're just bringing you Doritos Locos tacos.
All-inclusive.
Yeah.
Honey, for our vacation, we're just going to go all-inclusive at the Taco Bell Hotel. We don't even have to leave. We can just be poolside and
just eating some bean burritos. Nothing says romance like a couple bean burritos. And an adult slushie.
Wow. Very, very nice.
There we have it, folks.
Your Salty Shakedown, which today was in absolute sync with the Fox News channel. Sean Hannity would be proud of you, Shannon.
So I'm going to pretend I know who that person is. I've heard of the name, but I don't watch.
You don't know who Sean Hannity is? You're better off, sort of. So thank you. Armando Herrera is bringing up Spuds McKenzie. Yeah, that was Bud Light. Now we're bringing up advertising dogs. Spuds McKenzie. And John Williams says, the dog's name was Paco. No. Paco, the Taco Bell with the bobbing head. I don't think his name was Paco. Maybe it was. Paco rhymes with Taco. I don't think that was the name of the Chihuahua.
What's Yo Quiero?
Yo Quiero Taco Bell is I want Taco Bell.
Oh, okay. It is Taco Bell. See, I'm not 6 years of Spanish. This is where we are, folks. I can't do it.
Like 4 years, including 3. And I'm embarrassed that I live in San Antonio, Texas, and my Spanish is so bad. It's embarrassing.
I tried.
It should be mandatory. All right, quick break. Coming up, NBA, college hoops. Got to talk some Dak. We got 2 weeks left to sign Dak. Cowboys talking more. Keep it right here. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Beth Settle, good morning. I saw Beth Settle jump in here in the middle of that segment. Bernard Trefan, the Belle Palm Springs.
Yeah,
Bernard,
that's what it is.
Once again, brother. Palm Springs, California. I would have, if you would have told me that was a joke, I would have believed it. Cray.
Not currently taking reservations.
Oh, I'm looking for something. Okay.
Looking for
His little gnome?
No, the gnome. Yeah, I was looking for. He can't remember where his kennel is, or his kettle. I mean, from.
Oh, okay. Bernard all over it again. Gidget. Yes. See, that's more memorable. Gidget sounds familiar. All right. Armando Salinas, good morning from Kentucky. Spuds McKenzie was cool. I did enjoy Spuds McKenzie. Moose is slamming Austin. I've always found that interesting. In Austin, it's Guadalupe, and in San Antonio, it's Guadalupe. Yeah, I know.
We're just Guad.
Taco Bell Cantina was a big hit with UT students, says Bernard, as did Shannon. Dean Stone, good morning. Yeah, I don't have my audio on here. I think I saw Shannon. Did you say something, Shannon? I didn't have your audio on in here.
Oh, on the Guadalupe thing. Guad, the drag.
Yeah.
So it's like Cesar Chavez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is the Guadalupe River, right? What do you call the river? It's the Guadalupe River, but it's Guadalupe Street in Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I moved to California, there's a town near Long Beach called San Pedro, and I was pronouncing it San Pedro because we have a street in San Antonio called San Pedro, and everybody thought I was a freak in Southern California for calling San Pedro San Pedro. Then I had a guy visit me from California once, and he's like calling me on the phone. He goes, "Yeah, I'm almost there. I just crossed into Bexar County, and I'm in a little town called Boerne." And I go, "Well, no, you're in Bear County, and it's Bernie. You're in Bernie right now. You're almost here. Boerne." Let's see what else is going on in the world of sports. Shannon, anything on your mind here for this segment? We haven't talked a lot of Dak yet. But let me see.
I don't know if you wanted to do the Meek Mill and if we do Dak, the Meek Mill and the Kobe thing.
Yeah, let's start with that since that's trending. That's becoming a big deal.
And that story that Derek Carr could be getting a $160 million contract extension.
Wow.
Like,
that's good.
We went from he's going to get traded. He's either getting traded or he's getting a great contract. And they are apparently going to release Marcus.
Really?
Yeah.
And you got to wonder what happens to Andy Dalton. You know, I think Andy Dalton's thinking, you know, before we had this glut of quarterbacks, was that he'd do a year in Dallas and then go on somewhere and maybe be a starter again.
Dallas rehab.
I didn't hear that. Say that again.
It was like it was going to be rehab. It was the perfect setup in that he got to play as much as he did. And now every other quarterback in the league is moving around.
So, I mean, if we lost Andy Dalton, you know, Marcus Mariota might not be a bad backup. Musa says Derek Carr's numbers are deserving of an extension. Plus, it will free up room in the cap for this year. It makes sense. Yeah, if you're a Raider, and granted, they're on the upswing, but I just don't get the vibe that Derek Carr is going to lead you to the promised land. It's almost like, and Phillip Rivers, I think, was a better quarter. It's almost like Phillip Rivers, you never really got the vibe that he was going to take you to the Super Bowl. But yeah, let's go, Shannon. Let's go Meek Mill, and then we'll go Derek Carr, and maybe that'll lead us into Dak or Andy Dalton or NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, Armando, we talked about Deion Sanders getting his stuff stolen and returned. We talked about that yesterday on the show. I think it was part of the Salty Shakedown yesterday. Yeah, I'm reading what is apparently the lyric from Meek Mill. This B, I'm effing, always tell me that she love, but she ain't ever showed me. Yeah, if I ever lack, I'm going out with my chopper. It'll be another Kobe. Ugh. Nice, Meek Mill.
Yeah.
Real nice. Armando Herrera, Aaron Rodgers gets 10 shows as a Jeopardy host. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that eventually. That's crazy. I'll have to see that.
Yeah, they would confirm that they've been engaged for a while. And she said, I don't watch, I'm not a sports person, so I didn't know him I knew he was a football player, but I didn't know he was a good football player.
Oh, come on.
I
How
know
do you
him
not
more as
know
the nerd
that?
that's excited to host Jeopardy. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Dean, we talked about that yesterday. Jerry Jones owns an energy company that during the winter disaster in Texas, thank you, elevated their rates between 600% and 7,500%. To me, that sounds like price gouging.
This is the Chris
But
Duel
apparently-
Show.
You know the day destroys the night.
If you got money, you can get away with it in America.
Try to run, try to hide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side.
Now, Chris Duel.
So much going on in the world of sports and even a little outside the world of sports, which we'll get into here on a Taco Tuesday, February 23rd, on a day that is supposed to be absolutely beautiful in Austin, in San Antonio, across South and Central Texas. Temperatures in the mid-70s with sunshine today. Thank you, thank you, thank you after what we went through last week with the winter storm. I'm Chris Duel, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Sam Freese, the hardest working man in sports talk radio, joins us. You can tweet at us. Shannon is at Shannon B. Sweeney. Sam is at Biggest Puma. I am at Chris Duel. And, of course, the radio stations at AM 1300 The Zone on Twitter and at Ticket 760. We stream live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages. And I mentioned, Shannon, not only things happening in the world of sports, but outside the world of sports, which are affecting the world of sports. I noticed and mentioned to you off the air a few minutes ago that Vanessa Bryant is trending on Twitter. She is the widow of Kobe Bryant, along with Meek Mill. And apparently this has something to do with some Meek Mill lyrics.
Yeah, Meek Mill always been a controversial rapper, and he's always had a connection to sports in some way. He and Robert Kraft, good buddies when Meek was released from prison. I believe Robert Kraft sent the vehicle to pick him up. I'm not sure how that relationship started, but now he's in a conversation surrounding Kobe Bryant after a lyric. I believe you have it in front of me, so I'll let you wrap it out for us.
Yeah, that's what you need. Chris Duel rapping out Meek Mill lyrics. That's what you need to hear first thing in the morning. And Sam Freeze will probably now turn this into a Mike Taylor show drop. But this, and again, there's two words that I'm not going to say on the radio. This B, I'm blanking, always tell me that she loved, but she ain't ever showed me. Then here comes the next lyric. Yeah, and if I ever lack, I'm going out with my chopper. It be another Kobe. Ooh. I got something for all you hoes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Sam. Now, do you want to read Vanessa Bryant's response, which she, I guess, wrote directly to Meek Mill? Do you have that in front of you, Shannon? If not, I've got it.
Yeah, so she said, Dear Meek Mill, I find this line to be extremely insensitive and disrespectful, period. I'm not familiar with any of your music, but I believe you can do better than this. If you are a fan, fine. There's a better way to show your admiration for my husband. This lacks respect and tact. I think she said it perfectly and beautifully, and she, very rightly so, should be upset about this line. It's not even like it's a too soon thing. It's just not.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah,
No.
Don't be talking about a woman that you're in a relationship with, and he gets a little more graphic than that. And that if it ain't right, then you're going to use an analogy of a chopper with Kobe. Yeah, I think that's very uncool. And like you, Shannon, I think Vanessa Bryant is right to let him know that that's inappropriate and hurtful. Sam Freese, are we being a little? Is rap music and all things are fair game, or are we being a little too sensitive here? Or is Vanessa Bryant being a little too sensitive here?
I mean, I think all of that can be true simultaneously. I mean, I think it's not a great line, but he should, it's his art. It's his choice to use it. I think Vanessa absolutely should speak out if she feels, if that bothers her, as it obviously does, and as it would any normal person in that situation. I also think it's a bit of the, we're ginning up a bit of the outrage machine that we've created in this country. I mean, yeah, it's not a good line to begin with. It's not one of Meek's best things he's put on a track. It's a throwaway reference that really is pretty unnecessary, and it's also, there's a double meaning going on there. He's not talking about a helicopter, but referencing Kobe. To me, it's a big nothing. I mean, if we were to start looking at every single reference in rap music and getting upset about it, I think it would be a massive waste of all of our times. I mean, this one specifically, because it's Kobe, because it's such a big name, because it's his widow that's speaking out about it, it's going to get tons of traction. But at the end of the day, outside of the personal disrespect that she feels, I don't necessarily feel bothered one way or another by it.
Well, it is, I believe, an unreleased song. So this song was leaked. So he probably maybe never even intended for it to be heard. It might have just been something he came up with the studio, and they probably sat back and said, yeah, we can't do this.
And they leaked it out to get publicity for the upcoming release.
But also,
we're all talking about Meek Mill this morning because of this.
He had a song that came out last spring called I Believe Justin Timberlake. is on it. But that song was used in promotion by the NBA when they went into the bubble. You know, it was the hype video song that they would play showing the action and that the NBA was returning. So for him then to have a song like this, if you're the NBA, you're not happy. And if you're his management, you're not happy because that may ruin your chances at being aligned with the NBA somewhere down the line.
That's a big picture consideration. Yeah, if he has had and wants to have future relationships with the NBA, you know, one of the families and one of the ladies you don't insult or outrage is Vanessa Bryant, the widow of Kobe Bryant. But Sam, you also make a great point, and you use the term outrage machine. I mean, it is what we have in our culture today, and a lot of people talk about cancel culture, and you put the wrong thing out there, and people want to shut you down. Certainly, I don't think Vanessa Bryant wants to shut down Meek Mill. I mean, she was obviously upset about it, but I think a fairly, as you said, Shannon, a well-expressed, if not a perfectly expressed, response by her. But I just, and I know part of rap music and art is to, rattle cages a little bit, make you think, and maybe make you feel uncomfortable. But
it wasn't just Kobe in that chopper.
Oh, that's a
which
good
is
point.
part of it too.
That's another great point. Yeah, so many families were affected that I don't know. But again, as you mentioned, Shannon, it was an unreleased track. So, do we go all cynical and go, okay, this was just kind of leaked to create this outrage, so people would be talking about it. So, and here we are talking about Meek Mill.
I don't know that Meek Mill's that smart.
I think Meek is way ahead of. I think Meek has actually already apologized to Vanessa personally as well. So I mean, if we're, I'm pretty sure he.
That's
put
more
that
information.
out on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's your rap news for the day, folks.
Yeah,
but you didn't. Bet you didn't know you were going to get that here on the Chris Duel show. And Chris Duel rap said that.
Yeah, that's what we all need.
Meek said, I apologized to her in private earlier today, not to the public. Nothing I say on my page directed to an internet viral moment or the family of a grieving woman. If you care about someone grieving, change the subject. That was what he was replying to someone that said he needs to apologize. He said, I've already done it. I just don't have to do it for you.
That's fair.
Privately.
That's
okay.
Fair.
See, that's almost like the
See, and that's why stories like this just absolutely drive me insane, because we have no idea what's really like. She put it out on Instagram. He probably saw it, reached out to her immediately, and the story's done. But then we sit here and recycle it for 24 hours and talk about how terrible of a person Meek Mill is because he makes that one reference that he's already apologized for.
Good point. And to me, it's in a weird way a little reminiscent of Michael Pittman Jr. and Carson Wentz and the jersey. It's like
very reminiscent.
Here it's like, hey, I think Michael Pittman Jr. should give up that number 11. And as it turned out, they talked. They're cool. They're fine. It's all good. But I mean, as soon as Vanessa Bryant publicly tweets out or posts out that angry reply to Meek Mill, I mean, it became part of the public domain and it became part of the public dialogue. So it's hard not to talk about it. But again, I think for all of us, something to remember is there's often more to the story that we don't know about. And there, as Sam just outlined, there was more to this story involving Vanessa Bryant and Meek Mill, just as there was more to the story between Carson Wentz and Michael Pittman Jr. So there you have it.
You know what I need more story of?
What?
Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
Making note of anything and everything, Dak Prescott.
We should. Although, and this will lead us to Dak Prescott, you were telling me during the break, Shannon, that Oakland, Las Vegas, I'm going to be calling them the Oakland Raiders for the next 20 years. Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Derek Carr could be signing a $160 million contract extension.
Yeah, it's coming up. The rumor mill started last night as he was trending. A guy who every year we think they're going to trade him. We're gonna trade him, or they're gonna sit him. He's just not that guy, right? They kind of had that one season where they got really hot, and then he got hurt. And whatever, he fell off the wagon. I don't know that he was really ever fully on it and holding those reins, but to see that he could potentially get a contract like that for an organization that seems like they could be done with him at any moment. They are planning on releasing Marcus Mariota, so I guess in one way they're just securing that they have a guy. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I can't tell anymore if waiting for others to get their contracts is hurting or helping Dak Prescott's case, because I did read that although we're not hearing about the discussions, they are taking place, and they're not just discussions between Dak's reps and the Cowboys, but they are actual negotiations.
Good.
So there's been stuff on the table. But curious as to if they're fighting over numbers or what the holdup is as we open the tag. People can start to be tagged now, and he, of course, is a high name on the list of potential tag players. And I just don't think that's the best look for the Cowboys going into the next season. Because I also don't know who would you want other than Dak.
Sunshine, but I can't have him.
No, you can't.
Trevor Lawrence. Tank for Trevor.
They certainly can't afford him if he ends up being
but rookie contract. Rookie contract for Trevor Lawrence.
But look what they did with Dak and his rookie contract.
Yeah. True.
That's where we would be playing this all over again.
But I'm quick to point out that Kansas City won its Super Bowl when Patrick Mahomes was still under his rookie contract, and Seattle won a Super Bowl when Russell Wilson was still under his rookie contract. So there is a template for that. Here's one of the things I wonder about Dak Prescott and the current negotiation with the Cowboys. A year ago, when this was going on, Dak wanted a 4-year contract and the Cowboys wanted a 5-year contract because Dak wants to get paid again in another cycle while he's still in his prime. But it's been a year later. So, I mean, if Dak gets the 4, you franchise tagged him a year ago. So if you give him the 4 now, you essentially gave him the 5. But so I'm wondering now, does Dak want a 3 now? Or do the Cowboys still want to? Are the Cowboys still holding out for a 5-year contract, which is essentially, if you factor in last year, a 6-year contract before he's, if he took it before he's able to get another contract theoretically. So there's a whole lot going on, I imagine, in this contract negotiation.
I mean, we talk about it a lot. Look at what Tom Brady did last year and how quarterbacks seem to be following suit. Who's to say that he's not going to still be in his prime in his late 30s and can't get another contract, a year later? And again, you are the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Most of your money won't be coming from the Cowboys. It's coming from everything else. And the longer you're a Cowboy, the longer you get those endorsement deals that are rolling. I mean, he still has commercials airing on TV when he wasn't even playing most of the season.
Yeah. Well, and imagine
they played into his injury with those Sleep Number bed commercials.
You're right. Yeah. But imagine if Dak delivers a Super Bowl championship like Troy Aikman did, and like Robert 3 times, and like Roger Staubach did twice. I mean, Tony Romo is still beloved, and he didn't do it. Your job as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and God love him, Danny White wasn't able to deliver the goods, but Drew Pearson will tell you, and Drew caught a lot of balls from Danny White. Danny White was an outstanding quarterback. He was an exceptional quarterback and led them to 3 NFC championship games. And was knocking on the door of the Super Bowl, but didn't get there. If Dak Prescott, as you mentioned, all these other opportunities you will automatically get as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But if you deliver a Super Bowl, which hasn't been done since Troy did it 25 years ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 30, my God, Dak Prescott will be a living god in Dallas, in the state of Texas, and across the sports world for the rest of his life if he can just do that.
Yeah. What Dirk got a street named after him after he retired. Dak will have streets, buildings, planes, trains, and automobiles in his honor, as well as the biggest statue ever, either at the Star or outside of AT&T Stadium. #4Dak.
There you go. But Tad is still not happy. Dak Prescott's.
Tad would not be happy if Dak won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. He would find something. He would find a hole somewhere to say, well, they didn't feed him the pregame meal he really wanted. He asked for the chicken taco from Taco Bell, and they gave him shredded chicken, not fried chicken. So
I
we have
wonder
issues. We have
what
bones.
Dak Prescott does for a living. I mean, I'm going to have to Google that and figure. I mean, I don't know. Other than
Miss Bell's tweets.
Dak's angry brother.
Apparently, he doesn't have hot water right now. I was just looking at his profile 13 hours ago. He didn't have hot water.
Well,
Join the club.
Yeah, welcome to
Join the club.
Texas. It's interesting. And back to Derek Carr for just a moment, Shannon. You mentioned the rumor is perhaps about to sign a $160 million contract extension with the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, we talked a couple of weeks ago. One of the rumors was that the Raiders might make a play for Deshaun Watson, which I think if you're Deshaun Watson, that would be a cool landing spot for him as a Raider with John Gruden and all of that, everything that comes with
A new stadium that should have fans in it next year.
Yeah, and now that it's in Las Vegas, I mean, it's like Raiders 2.0, and it's a whole new thing. But and the irony, of course, for the Houston Texans was that his brother David Carr was a longtime Houston Texan, and it didn't exactly work out well. But I don't get the feeling, and I brought this up during the break on Facebook Live. Derek Carr kind of reminds me of a quarterback who you just get the sense that, like Phillip Rivers for so long with the San Diego Chargers and last year with the Indianapolis Colts before he retired. I just don't get the feeling that Derek Carr is a Super Bowl quarterback. You know, and maybe, the Raiders are on the upswing. Maybe they get better every year and he gets the job done. Good luck with Patrick Mahomes in your conference. But I just don't get the Super Bowl quarterback vibe from Derek Carr.
Yeah, he feels like a placeholder. You don't need an elite quarterback to win in Super Bowls. We've seen it happen. But he certainly won't be the reason they win a Super Bowl should they get there, right? He's kind of a Joe Flacco, just kind of there as the glue to hold it all together and ideally get weapons on the outside and on the defensive side of the ball because he's not special.
See, you bring up Flacco, though. So, and Sam, I saw an expression on your face as soon as I made that statement. You got a thought on this?
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago, Phillip Rivers, you were telling me is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and now you're comparing Derek Carr to him and saying he's not that great. I mean, Derek Carr,
he's got great. Rivers has great numbers.
Derek Carr has thrown for 4,000 yards the last 3 seasons at damn near 70% completion.
Yeah, maybe he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Who's never got to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, maybe Derek Carr is a little better than we're giving him credit here, just because he might not be a top 5 quarterback. I think Derek Carr is in that same 9 to 13 territory. I mean, you can win with these guys, and these guys deserve to get contract extensions. They're going to get paid. They're going to be paid by someone in this league. You might as well, be the team if you've already had him, 6 years, 7 years? I mean, I think you kind of like Phillip Rivers hanging out with the Chargers all those years. Never won a Super Bowl, but had a pretty damn good, successful career.
It is so amazing to me. And you mentioned this quote earlier, Shannon.
The top 20 quarterback in passing yards all time.
Yeah.
And we throw that out just as the game has changed so much.
Well, as Shannon said earlier, the quote from Cam Newton that, there are not 32 quarterbacks better than he is in the NFL. And you could debate that or not debate it, but quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers lasting so long in the league and like Drew Brees lasting so long in the league, it always amazes me that it's so seldom. If you look at all the quarterbacks every year coming out of college, and so few make it in the NFL, and so few last as long as Derek Carr or Phillip Rivers or Drew Brees. And I know Rivers and Brees lasted a lot longer than Carr has so far. But, I mean, it is amazing how difficult it is, A, to become an elite quarterback in the NFL, and B, just to be a starter. And Colt McCoy has a pretty darn good career, and he's, hasn't started a whole lot of games in the NFL, but he's doing pretty good for himself.
Yeah, going on, 11 years in the league?
So
making all that money?
It's a good
staying healthy?
You get it. Absolutely.
I'd do it.
All right. We will talk a little NBA, a little San Antonio Spurs as we roll forward. Jeff Garcia of the podcast Locked on Spurs and all of his coverage for Fox 29 and News 4 San Antonio. Talk a little Spurs, and my goodness, they are depleted. It's our poll question. We'll update that for you before the end of the show as well. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Sam Freese. Phillip Rivers is the first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback or not. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Gordon, good morning. Welcome. Gordon says, I'm sure I'll be receiving calls at my record store for the Meek Mill tune, even though it's unreleased. Excuse me. John Williams, I'm checking what you wrote me. Not a bad idea. March Madness is around the corner. How about a bracket with the top 64 weirdest names of towns or cities in Texas? Then you sent me a list. Blessing, Texas. I've never been there. There's a sign on the link that John sent me. Blessing, Texas. It's a cool name. Bacon, Texas. You had me at Bacon. Sweet Home, Texas. Telephone, Texas. Some Texas towns. Loco, I like it. Kermit, population 5708. Cut and Shoot, Texas. White Settlement. I've heard of White Settlement. Ding Dong, Texas. I wonder if they serve Hostess Ding Dongs there. No Trees, Texas. Blessing, Texas. Population 800. Gun Barrel City, Texas. Yeehaw. Cool, Texas. I like that. Near Fort Worth is Cool, Texas. Good list, John Williams. Thank you, sir. And there's a photo in front of the Kermit, Texas city limits of Kermit the Frog standing in front of Kermit, Texas. Oh, I know what I need to do before I forget. I've got to mail out
DeMarcus Cousins was just released.
R&R auto glass spots. I've got to mail them to David Munoz, who is the account manager for R&R. Do that. Browse this computer. And do that. Jason Delgado, good morning. Axel J. Miller, good morning. Axel telling us Pro Football Focus ranks Derek Carr in 2020 in the top 10 with a 105 quarterback rating. He's the Raiders' all-time touchdown and yards leader as well. Seriously? More than Ken Stabler? Wow. I would not have bet that. Thomas V. Martinez says, Cowboys, weren't y'all just crucifying Jerry Jones? Yeah, Thomas, we love the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, not so much. We're just kind of stuck with Jerry Jones. And here we go. We have a spammer in here. Let me remove you from... Where's my Facebook? There it is. I just love this. Let's click ban from stream and delete. And delete. Is that him? Cool. Jeff Garcia. Say again? I think it's my voice. Is it Meek Mill, the Meek Mill lyric? Thank you. No, yeah, thank you. That would... Okay, yeah. Thank you for not keeping the Kobe part, because nobody would get that, and that would just anger people. Thank you. Spammers suck. You are correct. Foamfoot 420. I banned the spammer. I don't like banning anybody from the stream, but come on, man. Don't be dropping spam in here. Thank you. My Spurs information. Some of us still read the sports page. Sam Freese is your soundscape stylist, giving me a heads up that my rendition of the Meek Mill lyric will come back to haunt me. It happens. Chris Duel Show on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760 in your radio, on the iHeartRadio app, streaming live video along with Shannon Salty Sweeney on Ticket 760 and AM 1300, the Zone's Facebook page. There's also a YouTube page and all kinds of ways you can access and be a part of the show. And a guy who is often a part of the show is one of our go-to guys on all things Spurs and the NBA. And he can be your go-to guy as well. He puts out more Spurs info multiple times throughout the day than anybody I am aware of in any media, from Locked On Spurs and all of his work that he does with News 4 San Antonio and Fox 29 in San Antonio. Jeff Garcia joins us. Jeff, welcome back.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
We are doing well, and it's going to be interesting tomorrow night, Jeff, to see how the Spurs are doing. We've been talking about it today on the show. As you know, because you report on this, 5 Spurs players will be out for health and safety protocols. Rudy Gay, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, Devin Vassell, and Quindary Weatherspoon. Plus, sadly, DeMar DeRozan out. His dad passed away just a few days ago. He's with his family in Los Angeles, and they got to go play Oklahoma City tomorrow night. And this is going to linger for a few games. How are you feeling about the San Antonio Spurs right now?
So it's kind of bittersweet, I guess. It's good that they're back. They can get to some sort of level of normalcy. But then it's bittersweet because, as you mentioned, they'll be down several players. And, maybe they might be a little rusty out there, trying to get the rust off. And you're going to be looking at different rotations. You're going to be looking at players who've never played with each other before on the court. You have a couple of call-ups from the G League, Samich and Trey Jones. They're going to get their time to play in the NBA. So I think patience is going to be in order with this team because it's not just tomorrow versus the Thunder. They could be down several guys moving forward from that point, depending on how the testing goes and the NBA protocols are set for the players that have been impacted by it. And, of course, DeMar DeRozan, he should take all the time he needs dealing with the passing of his father. So, it may be a little rough going tomorrow versus OKC, but at the end of the day, everybody's just glad that Spurs basketball is back.
So, Jeff, we're asking our listeners today, because Spurs will be depleted from starting tomorrow night and for the next couple games, out of the next 3 games, what they think the Spurs will win, how many they'll win. Right now, it's 2-1 and 1-2, tied on our poll. Of course, they play the Thunder, as you mentioned, followed by the Pelicans and the Nets. How many of those are you thinking they'll get out of those first 3 games back, and which teams are the one you think that they should and can beat?
It'll be tomorrow versus Thunder. I think that's probably their best shot to get a win. I mean, but then again, it's difficult because they're just coming back. You're looking at. We'll start with the Nets. That's going to be a rough one, and they've been on a roll. They're clicking right now. Harden's clicking, and they're playing well without Durant. So you can almost chalk that up to a loss. Pelicans is interesting. I mean, the news is they'll be in San Antonio, but is there really anything about home court advantage this year in the NBA? So that could be a toss-up. I think the Pelicans just might have. At the end of the day, it just comes down to bodies, and I really don't think that the Spurs, will have the bodies enough to compete at, from end to end, 4 quarters of basketball against these next couple of tough teams. Again, you throw the Thunder out there. I mean, that's the weakest, quote unquote, of the next 3. So I'm looking at 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I go 2-1 because I'm a little bit delusional, and Meatloaf says 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Jeff. So that's why I go with 2-1. But it's a little, again, it's unfortunate, and COVID-19 and these COVID protocols have wreaked havoc on the world of sports, and I guess it's just the Spurs' turn right now because before this, the Spurs were, I think, playing their best basketball of the season. They, for the first time, got to 5 games over 500. They're 16-11, 9-3 on the road, and they were in the midst of this rodeo road trip. And assuming they were going to continue to play very, very well on the road, it looked like they were going to rack up a number of wins. So it's a little bit unfortunate that they have to go through this.
There wasn't really any heavy hitters on there. It really wasn't. Maybe the Knicks, the Knicks, whether they're up or down, good season, bad season, they always tend to play the Spurs tough in Madison Square Garden. The Pacers maybe, but you look at that. I mean, that was the Spurs' golden opportunity to really pad the win column and really get set for a prime push in the second half of the season. Well, what's going to be interesting is how they're going to make up these games. There's reports out there that the second half of the season / schedule for those teams that have missed a significant amount of games, such as the Spurs, they're going to be seeing plenty of back-to-backs. That a lot of these games are going to be crammed in. And we know, at least in the first half of the season, the Spurs don't fare well in the second game of a back-to-back. This was just, it could be detrimental to their playoff chances. But, as Popovich said yesterday during the media session, hey, they're healthy. And, I think he's trying to put the bright silver lining on this, that, hey, health comes first and everybody's healthy. But for those of y'all who were thinking about their playoff chances, that could have taken a hit. And we'll see what happens. But the good news is, though, that second half schedule is supposed to be less heavy with heavy hitters. Remember the first half of the season, there was plenty of above 500 teams the Spurs had to face, and they fared pretty well. So maybe that'll help them moving forward. But you got to think this too, Chris. When those players come back, they're going to need time to get in the rhythm of things. They're going to need time to get their legs and their wind back. You ask Jason Tatum. He's still saying that the time he spent away from the court when he got hit with the COVID, it took him a while, and that he's still feeling the lingering effects of the virus. So you really want to see how this team does when the players come back, and how those players individually, health-wise, can fare, knowing they just got the virus, and then they got to come back in, and can they deal with the lingering effects?
Jeff Garcia of Locked On Spurs with us. And Jeff, coming up, we're not too far out from the All-Star break. And I know, the All-Star weekend and everything's a little bit different in the NBA. It's actually a lot different in the NBA this year. But I did notice, when they named the pool of players who could be starters for the NBA All-Star game, no Spurs anywhere on that list. It would seem to me if one Spur could be named to that list, it could be DeMar DeRozan. And you mentioned him at the outset that he's out, with the passing of his father. Do you think DeMar DeRozan gets named to this All-Star team?
I really think so. I think it's going to be a slim way he gets in, but I believe he will make the Western Conference reserves. Nobody should be shocked. He could get named a starter. We all know it's a popularity contest when fans who weigh in on the voting. So this is the coach's time. So the coaches pick, and DeMar DeRozan should there. What more do you need out of a guy? And the numbers that he's putting up for San Antonio, and the way he's playing this year, that whole reputation he has about not being a closer. Well, this year he's one of the better fourth quarter performers in the league. I think he's 3 or 4 right now as far as points in the fourth. You're looking at also, too, that he leads the team in assists. He's deferring for the most part, letting these young guys shine and seeing them develop. Watch him when he plays with these young guys. He's very proud of them. He'll see them celebrating, Keldon and Lonnie jumping up in the air. He's in the background smiling. And statistically as well, I mean, he's a decent rebounder. He's going to give you 25 or more points per game. And he's that steady force for this very young team. He has to make it, Chris.
Now, Jeff, with that reserve roster for the All-Star game set to be announced today, should any Spurs make the team, have you heard anything within the organization about how they feel about a game taking place at all?
No. I think actually I did. Yes, I'm sorry. DeMar DeRozan, he's mentioned it when he was asked before this pause in the season about the All-Star. And all Spurs fans will love his answer. He says, that would be nice, but his focus is more on this team making the postseason. He would rather see that than him being named a Western Conference reserve. So that should give you more reason why he should be a Western Conference reserve, because he doesn't want to be in it. He prefers to put the team first. So that's just good news to hear that from him. And the guy, whether he makes it or not, he's an all-star in Spurs fans' eyes.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with what you just said, Jeff, about DeMar DeRozan. And something I've really noticed this year is he really is a closer. We call him on Spurs React. We used to call him Destar de Chosen. This year he's been Destar de Closen because he's been there performing so well in crunch time in the fourth quarter. And how ironic if he is named Jeff and Shannon and Sam. I mean, here he was passed over last year as an all-star. He's always been an all-star caliber player, I believe a 4-time all-star. And then, in a year when it's inconvenient with COVID to go to Atlanta and at a time when his dad will have just passed away just a few days ago, if he is named now, it'd be kind of a bittersweet honor, I think, for DeMar DeRozan to be named. I want to ask you one other question, Jeff, as we're getting closer to the break here, but I don't know how much, and I know you do, you pay a lot of attention to the rest of the NBA, but I just wonder how many people are sleeping on the Utah Jazz. They have won 21 of their last 23. They've got an NBA best record, 25-6. It is their best 31-game record in franchise history. And by the way, they had a few good teams with Karl Malone and John Stockton back in the day. Do you see the Jazz as a team that come playoff time can be right there going against teams like the LA Lakers and the LA Clippers in the Western Conference and really legitimately be an NBA championship caliber team?
I think they are that right now, but you're exactly right. How will they fare in a 7-game series versus the Clippers or the Lakers? I think that remains to be seen. But you're looking at this Jazz team, and they got great one-on-one players. Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovic, Clarkson, San Antonio's own Clarkson. They got guys that can drive it. They got guys that can shoot it. I mean, what more do you need? They got the inside game with the Gobert, and of course, we just mentioned the outside game with the players mentioned. And it's not just me, or you, Chris, or Shannon, Celtics head coach Brad Stevens. Brace yourself, Chris. He compares this year's Jazz team to the 2014 Spurs beautiful game team.
Whoa.
In a high regard, he looks at the Jazz, and in his opinion, he thinks that they have that championship medal that the 2014 Spurs have. So, well,
and as you know, just to remind our listeners, Quinn Snyder, their coach, the time he spent with what is now the Austin Spurs, I think they were the Austin Toros when Quinn Snyder was the coach, and Dennis Lindsay, the GM, another Popovich disciple. So you certainly have some Spurs fingerprints among those Jazz leaders.
Yeah, you do. And Chris, you don't mind if I just shift gears really fast? Remember a few weeks ago, you and I spoke about Spurs games getting canceled. And I think that was with the Pelicans game, and we're trying to think about what game was canceled. And I said, it was a water cannon night.
Yeah.
So I went back and I looked that up because something was still bothering me. And I said, the next time I'm going to talk to Chris, I'm going to bring it up to you. There was one game that was all out, just flat out canceled. Remember the Mexico game?
Yeah. Yeah. The smoke.
That was the last game that the Spurs had completely canceled, not the water cannon game.
Yeah, little did we know, so many of them would be either postponed or however they're going to handle them as they have been in the last few weeks. Jeff Garcia, we are out of time, but I want to tell everybody to go follow you on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. There you can get links to the Locked On podcast and all of his great coverage. He puts out so much great Spurs and NBA content. Jeff Garcia, always outstanding, sir. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Jeff Garcia of Locked On Spurs. Shannon Salty Sweeney, you say the Spurs will go 1-2 over the next 3 games. Speaking of which, where do we stand as we wrap up the poll question?
Still tied. Most people think either 2-1 or 1-2.
All right.
Not bad.
I'll take 3-0, but no, I voted 2-1. Shannon, get outside, enjoy the day.
Yeah, I'm going to need am I allowed to drink margaritas still?
Sure.
Okay.
You just have to have tacos with him on Taco Tuesday. Sam Freese, great job, sir. All right. And our thanks to Jeff Garcia. Get outside today. The weather's beautiful. We will see you in 21 hours. Hasta la vista.